Welcome to this episode of Our College, Your Voices. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. These days, vaccines are on everyone's mind. With a lot of information out there regarding COVID-19 vaccines, I wanted to bring two very special guests to the podcast today to discuss vaccines and what these mean for the college. So let's meet our guests. First up, and we talked about this just before we started recording, this is her first and her last episode, is Julie Lorton-Rowland, who's the Senior Vice President of Human Resources and Systems Office. Julie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Kara, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today.
And you are going to be retiring after, is it 41 years?
It is 41 years. May 7th is my last day of full-time employment with Ivy Tech. It's been a terrific career.
You have been a colleague for my entire career, and I am definitely going to miss you. So welcome to the show, and I'm glad we were able to get you on before you retired. And our second guest is Kyle Giles. Kyle, you are the Interim Vice President for Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness and Systems Office. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here today.
Very good. Let's dive into the questions. We talk about this in town halls. We talk about it in emails and things like that. But as sort of the experts on this topic, what is Ivy Tech's position on students, faculty, and staff being vaccinated?
The college wants everyone and encourages everyone to get vaccinated. However, we are not going to mandate vaccines for our population right now. As we work through what the CDC says, as well as, Indiana State Department of Health, mandating just isn't the right move for us right now. But we really do believe that you should speak with your healthcare provider and make the decision that is best for you. And we hope that everyone will get vaccinated because that will help us get to kind of the end of the pandemic that we're all hoping and reaching for.
Will Ivy Tech host vaccine clinics at campuses? And if so, is there going to be a schedule that gets communicated?
So this is something that we've been working with the Indiana State Department of Health and some local health departments throughout the state. We have hosted some vaccine clinics. We have 9 campuses that have hosted some sort of vaccine clinic in the past. And we have a few more that are looking at hosting some in the coming weeks and over the summer as well. Those are all campus-based decisions right now. And so as those clinics are being scheduled, the campuses are sending out information to their campus community and also their campus partners. So one of the things that we are really hoping to do is not only offer the vaccine for our population, our students and our faculty and our staff, but also our community partners as well. Maybe those that are in close proximity. So our campuses are really working on that communication plan to get that sent out as needed and as we start scheduling more vaccine clinics on our campuses.
So I'm going to ask this next question from a personal perspective. We're recording this on April 23rd. I think it'll launch sometime early to mid-May. And so by that time, I will be 2 weeks post my shot. I get my second shot next Tuesday. Once I'm fully vaccinated, do I still need to wear a mask on campus? And once anybody's fully vaccinated, do they still need to wear a mask on campus?
Absolutely. So right now, our guidance from the college is that masks are still going to be required until further notice. We're still going to ingest the information from the CDC and our partners over at Indiana State Department of Health to help us determine what the next steps are. But with the numbers of folks that are not vaccinated right now, the guidance is that you should wear a mask if you're around those that have not been vaccinated. So right now, yes. And as we kind of move forward, we'll continue to ingest that information and make a good decision based off of that. But right now, yes, you will still be required to wear a mask on campus, even if you are fully vaccinated.
And Kyle, am I correct with that the statewide mask mandate has lapsed, but the governor is still requiring them in all state buildings as well? And that's another reason why we need to continue to wear masks in our buildings. Am I right on that?
You are absolutely spot on with that, Kara. So when we started the pandemic, the governor had issued a mask mandate for state buildings before a statewide mask mandate went into place. And Ivy Tech followed that because we are considered a state building. So as long as the governor continues to have that requirement for state buildings, Ivy Tech will continue to follow that. But we're also looking at what we do. We know that that's going to end at some point, and we're really looking at how the college will respond past that mandate because we don't know when that's going to end. So we're starting to look at that now.
And I've been thinking about this, and Julie, you might have an opinion on this. We've talked a lot during the pandemic about one of the things we need people to do is to stay home when they're sick. And we're still going to need that, whether it's the flu, whether it's a cold, any of those sorts of things. But, I keep thinking about I may wear a mask even when the mandate is over now from time to time. If I'm not feeling that well, but I'm not sick, what are your thoughts on that? Like from a cultural perspective, this seems like something that may be ongoing.
Kara, I think that's a really good question. In my personal opinion, I think we will see many people still doing that. I do think it brings some level of confidence and safety for folks who are wearing masks. We've been doing that for a year now. It seems very routine. And yes, when folks aren't feeling well, we do encourage them to stay home. And we know that's hard sometimes, but we've been working in a remote environment for the last year now. So it does create opportunities sometimes for folks who may just be feeling a little under the weather and not quite up to snuff and maybe not coming into the office, but perhaps they can still be productive from home, if they're feeling up to that. So I think it also opens other opportunities from a work perspective, but it would not surprise me that we see folks feel comfortable wearing a mask, whether that's to work or personally out in public or to events.
I agree with that, Julie. And I would say that other cultures have done this. And as we start to kind of reopen and kind of get back to whatever that new normal is, I think that you are totally going to see more folks that are going to wear facial coverings, especially during cold and flu season. Maybe not so much in the summer. You probably will still see that until we kind of fully get through the pandemic. But I really think during cold and flu season, you're going to see more folks wearing the facial coverings to help keep them from contracting the flu or a cold. So I think it's one of those things that is a result of the pandemic that it's going to kind of change our culture going forward and something that we're just going to have to look forward to.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of legislation that has impacted policy and procedure over the last year. So I want to ask a very specific question about that. Will the Families First Coronavirus Response Act be updated in the full-time employee handbook? And specifically, will the paid sick leave related to COVID-19 that's been approved by college leadership last fall, will that be extended?
As we know, the federal legislation went into effect last April 2020. And that legislation ended on December 31st of 2020. What Ivy Tech did is we decided to voluntarily extend the policy on our own for our employees through March 31st. So as March 31st arrived and looking at the drop in the number of employees needing this benefit was significant between January and March, but we still had just under 150 employees statewide take advantage of this very important benefit that was made available. So between the federal legislation and what Ivy Tech did voluntarily, as of right now, that policy is no longer in effect. But I think it's something that should we see some drastic rise again, or something that would cause us to consider whether or not that should be reinstituted, that is something that certainly could be discussed amongst leadership.
Absolutely. And Julie, we have really, really generous sick leave, as well as we have FMLA protection. So if somebody does need to use those resources and has questions, what's the best place for them to go to get those questions answered?
Certainly, the information is in our employee handbook that's available out on our website. I would also direct folks to their local human resources office to talk about any particular questions they may have. Certainly you can engage your supervisor, but sometimes, your supervisor may not have the answers to very specific questions, pertaining to your own particular situation. So reach out to your local human resources office, and then should there need to be further conversation, our benefits hub that is hosted out of the systems office certainly can be another resource for that more complex questions or administration of leave or other questions that you may have so you can begin to make an application for leave of absence if it's necessary.
Excellent. Thank you. As we are we've heard Sue use that phrase, turn the dial towards open on our campuses. We sort of expect maybe 25 to 50% in the summer, looking to, anyone who does want to be on campus for the fall, able to be there. What do we need to do to continue to keep our campuses safe?
A lot of what we have been doing for the last year. So it's going to be continuing to wear that facial covering, continuing to maintain social distancing, continuing to wash our hands, continuing to stay home if we're not feeling well. Those are the key things. And I know that we sound like a broken record as we have heard that for an entire year now, actually a little over a year. But those are the key things that we really have to do to maintain our safety. And then from the college's aspect, we're going to continue to ingest the information from the CDC and from our partners at the Indiana State Department of Health to make sure that we're setting a really good path and a safe path for our campus communities to be able to come back and kind of be into that new sense of normal. We want our campuses to be open. We want our folks and our employees and our students to be able to come back and take classes. We will ensure that we're doing the things that are the safest, but everyone has to make that decision as well for them. And then also looking at if you can get vaccinated and that's the best move for you, get your vaccination as soon as you can.
Well, that is a good way to move into our call to action for everybody, whether you're on campus or off. Keep doing those practices we've been talking about. Wash your hands, wear facial covering, socially distance. But for everyone that is an Indiana resident, age 16 or older, you are now eligible for a COVID-19 vaccine. If it is the right choice for you after consultation with your healthcare provider, do consider signing up for the vaccine. You can do that by visiting ourshot.in.gov. It's ourshot.in.gov. Or you can call 211 if you're an Indiana resident. And it really is very easy. I've used 211 a couple of times. And we actually featured Indiana 211 in episode 133 of the podcast, if you would like to go back and listen to that. Thanks again for joining this episode of Our College Your Voices. I want to thank the members of the panel today. Julie Lorton-Rowland, Senior Vice President of Human Resources Systems Office, and soon to be retiree. Julie, congratulations again. And Kyle Giles, Interim Vice President for Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness and Systems Office. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. You can connect with me on Twitter at KNM Tweets. Our producer is Sarah Ferguson. You can reach us by email at ourcollegeyourvoices@ivytech.edu. Our website, where you'll find links to show notes and all of the resources we mentioned today, is ivytech.edu/podcast. Production assistance for this and every episode provided by Becky Campbell and the Ivy Tech Community College Creative Services team, and our podcast concept is by Matthew Pittman. Theme music and post-production services provided by Jen Eads at the Brassie Broadcasting Company. We will talk to you next time on Our College, Your Voices.